You did everything right. You studied harder. You stayed up when others quit. You learned the rules, followed them, and played fair. And deep down, you believed one thing, that if you were smart enough, good enough, useful enough, the system would take care of you. That belief kept you going. You didn't chase shortcuts. You didn't step on others to climb. You didn't fake charm or sell illusions. You just did the work, quietly, consistently, brilliantly. And for a while, that seemed noble. But the years went by, and the rewards never came. You saw others rise, faster, louder, emptier. You watched mediocrity get promoted. You watched politics outperform performance. And you started to wonder, was I wrong about everything? Because you weren't lazy, you weren't entitled. You weren't trying to game the system. You were trying to believe in it. But no one ever told you the truth, that intelligence, talent, hard work are not shields. They are vulnerabilities. In a society that rewards the performance of success over the substance of value, being smart doesn't make you safe. It makes you targetable, usable, replaceable. The system doesn't reward depth. It rewards visibility. It doesn't reward contribution. It rewards control. And if you're not the one controlling, you're the one being extracted. The tragedy is not that smart people aren't capable. It's that they're convinced capability is enough. But look around. The smoothest talkers get the microphone. The boldest bluffers get the contract. The shallow rise quickly because they float. And the deep, they sink. Not because they're weak, but because this world was designed to skim the surface. And what about you? You who think long before speaking. You who build things that last. You who carry more than you show. Where has it gotten you? Used, underpaid, overlooked, respected only when convenient, rewarded only when necessary, and thrown aside the moment your value becomes inconvenient. No one told you that being intelligent would make you easier to manipulate, that being talented would make you easier to exploit, that being committed would make you easier to control, because the system doesn't need you to succeed, it needs you to serve. And the smarter you are, the more precisely it knows how to keep you useful, without ever setting you free. You thought you were climbing, but you were being farmed, so let's stop pretending. You're not confused, you're not unlucky, you're not failing, you're waking up. And the question is no longer, am I good enough? The real question is, if I'm smart, if I've done the work, if I've built real value, then why am I still being used? Because the system was never designed to reward intelligence. It was designed to harvest it. And now that you see that, everything changes. You think this is just about you? It's not. This is a pattern, and it's been repeating for longer than you've been alive. Let's start with Nikola Tesla, a mind centuries ahead of his time. He gave us alternating current, wireless energy, robotics, remote control. He could see the future, but he couldn't protect his place in it. While others built empires off his ideas, Tesla died alone, in a cheap hotel room, feeding pigeons, forgotten by the world he helped power. Why? Because brilliance isn't enough when power plays the game. Because ideas don't pay unless you own them. Because society doesn't reward who creates. It rewards who controls. Let's keep going. Vincent van Gogh, one of the greatest painters in history. He painted over 900 works. He sold one. He died by suicide. Poor, unknown, misunderstood. But today, his paintings sell for over $100 million. Collectors fight over them. Auction houses profit. Documentaries are made. Brands borrow his genius to sell perfume. He never saw a dollar. He never got applause. He was too early, too strange, too deep. And when the world finally wanted him, he was gone, which made his story even more profitable. Then there's H.P. Lovecraft, the man who created entire mythologies that shaped horror as we know it. No one knew his name while he was alive. He died in poverty. Today, his work is turned into movies, video games, merchandise. profits everywhere, except in his lifetime. This is not coincidence. This is how the system is built. It doesn't reward vision. It doesn't reward depth. It rewards timing, packaging, distribution, and market leverage. And the ones who play that game, they take everything, while the ones who build, they're thanked quietly and buried quickly. You think you're the first person this has happened to? You're not. But maybe you're one of the first to finally see it while you're still breathing. Because these men didn't fail due to lack of talent. They didn't die broke because they were weak. They died broke because they misunderstood the system. They thought the world would catch up. They thought someone would see. They thought good work would win on its own. But in a society that worships profit, value means nothing unless it's owned, branded, scaled, and sold. So here's the uncomfortable question. How much value have you already created? How many ideas have passed through your mind, your hands, your labor, only to become someone else's paycheck? How many things did you build while someone else positioned themselves as the face, the owner, the genius? And how long do you think this will continue? Because if you don't name what's happening, it won't stop. You're not broken. You're not unlucky. You're just a man who sees too clearly in a world that profits from your blindness. And now, you've started to see. That's not the end of the road. That's the beginning. So what do these stories have in common? Tesla, Van Gogh, Lovecraft. They didn't just suffer. They were used by a system that knew how to extract brilliance without ever needing to honor it. And once you understand that, everything else starts to make sense. You see, we're taught to believe that the world is fair, that value rises, that the cream floats to the top. But that's a beautiful lie. The system wasn't built to reward value. It was built to monetize it, not in your hands, but in someone else's. Machiavelli said it best. It is not necessary for a ruler to be good. It is necessary for him to appear good. In other words, power doesn't need talent. It needs the illusion of talent. And in modern society, the people who create value rarely control it. The thinkers work for the talkers. The builders work for the brand. The problem solvers work for the spreadsheet. You're not underpaid because you lack skill. You're underpaid because you don't own the frame, the narrative, the pipeline. You were taught how to produce, but never how to protect. Taught to be excellent, but never how to leverage. Taught to be humble. While others learned how to harvest everything you created. This isn't about intelligence. This is about infrastructure. Who controls the system? Who owns the channels? Who sets the price on your labor? Because if you don't control the platform, then you are the product. Let's stop pretending. In a society that worships profit, talent is fuel, and you are the fuel. Your effort, your insight, your sacrifice, all fed into a machine designed to grow, not to give back. The system doesn't need you to be rich. It needs you to be reliable, replaceable, silent. It needs you to believe in merit. While it rewards manipulation, it needs you to work hard, while it elevates those who know how to play. And that's the final twist, isn't it? You didn't lose because you weren't good enough. You lost because you thought the system was just. But justice is not part of the design. This is a machine. It runs on utility, not morality, not depth, not truth. And the ones who rise, they're not the most brilliant. They're the ones who know how to be seen as brilliant. The ones who understand perception is profit. The ones who know how to own, not just create. So no, you didn't fail. You followed the rules, the wrong rules. In a game, you were never meant to win. But now, you see it. And the next question is no longer how do I work harder? It's how do I stop being fuel? Because the system isn't broken. It's functioning exactly as intended. And the only way out is to stop being what it feeds on. Now, here's the part no one likes to admit. The part that doesn't come from the system, but from you. Because deep down, you still believe in something you were never meant to believe in. It's called the Just World Fallacy. the illusion that the world is fair, that good work gets rewarded. That effort brings justice, that if you're smart, loyal, and ethical, life will eventually pay you back. You wouldn't say it out loud, but it's there, buried in the choices you make, in the hours you keep, in the quiet resentment you feel when others get ahead, for doing far less than you ever dared. Because somewhere in you, there's a whisper that says, if I just keep doing it right, eventually the system will see me. But it won't. Because the system isn't blind. It sees you just fine. It sees your intelligence. It sees your consistency. It sees your loyalty, and it knows exactly how to use them against you. Just World Fallacy isn't harmless. It's a trap. It makes smart people obedient and deep thinkers passive. It makes the best men quiet. It's what keeps you from speaking up, from questioning the setup, from saying no when the demands keep growing, but the reward never does. You tell yourself, I'll be noticed soon. It's just not my time yet. Hard work always pays off. But the system doesn't work on delay. It works on extraction, not someday, right now, every day. You're not being underpaid because your turn hasn't come. You're being underpaid because you still believe it will. And here's the brutal irony. The more intelligent you are, the more likely you are to fall for this lie. Because you believe in structure, in logic, in cause and effect. So when it doesn't add up, you don't rebel. You blame yourself. You work harder, you stay quieter, you hope longer. But the world doesn't reward belief. It rewards leverage. It rewards positioning. It rewards the man who knows it's not fair and plays accordingly. You think the system lied to you? Number. It told you exactly what it needed you to hear. It sold you the story of fairness, so you would never question the terms of your obedience. You weren't tricked by hope. You were tricked by virtue. That's why it hurts so much. Because you didn't make a stupid decision. You made an honest one. You chose to be good. And in this game, that made you vulnerable. So now what? Now, you stop waiting. You stop believing that being excellent is enough. You stop thinking the game will reward you for being good, when the only thing it respects is strategy. You don't have to play dirty, but you do have to stop playing blind, because no one's coming to fix it. No one's going to say, you've done enough. You are either useful to the system, or you are free from it. But you cannot be both. You want to know why it feels so isolating? Why the more you see, the less you're seen. Schopenhauer said it simply, the more intelligent a man is, the less he is understood by others. And you felt that. Not as a theory, but as a quiet, growing distance. You've never fit in with the crowd, not because you tried to be different, but because you were already thinking about things they hadn't even noticed. While others were chasing status, you were chasing clarity. While they memorized the rules, you were asking where they came from. And in a world built on shallow rewards, that kind of depth doesn't make you successful. It makes you invisible. Because this world doesn't run on truth. It runs on packaging, on visibility, on things that can be sold in sound bites, repurposed for attention and monetized by the minute. You're not too quiet, you're just too real. And this world doesn't know how to sell what's real. That's why you watch men with half your insight get 10 times the attention. That's why your ideas are praised only after someone else waters them down. That's why you're not invited to the table until someone needs to borrow your mind and leave your name behind. Because brilliance in its raw form doesn't market well. It challenges, it unsettles, it's hard to swallow. And this system wasn't built to reward disruption. It was built to reward compliance. Schopenhauer understood that. He lived it. He said, talent hits a target no one else can hit. Genius hits a target no one else can see. But what happens when no one sees it? What happens when the work is too early, too strange, too honest? It gets ignored. Or worse, it gets stolen, repackaged, and sold by someone who knows how to perform intelligence but doesn't actually carry it. You think you're losing because you're not smart enough? Number. You're losing because you're seeing deeper than society wants you to see. You don't know how to fake enthusiasm. You don't know how to sell half-truths. You don't know how to make people feel comfortable with lies. And in a world that profits from comfort, that makes you a threat. So what do they do with threats like you? They marginalize you. They dismiss you. They call you difficult, cynical, too intense. They'll take your insights, but not your presence. They want your mind, but not your challenge. Because your truth doesn't fit their timeline, and your depth doesn't fit their brand. So they wait until you're gone, until the world's ready, and suddenly you're a genius, posthumously. But you're not dead, you're alive, and you're starting to realize you don't need to be more like them. They need to stop pretending they understand you. You're not broken, you're just operating at a level society hasn't caught up to. But don't wait for them to catch up, because some truths are too early and some men are too deep. And in this world, that's not a flaw, that's a sentence. So now you see it. You see the pattern, you see the trap, you see the silence that consumed men like you. Men who were brilliant but broken by a world that didn't know how to value them. But this is not a call to save the world. It's not your job to fix a machine designed to exploit. That's not your burden to carry. You don't need to change the world. You just need to stop feeding it when it feeds on you. That's it. Because your clarity is a weapon, your intelligence is a resource. But without awareness, that resource becomes fuel. Fuel for someone else's machine. Fuel for someone else's name. Fuel for someone else's profit. And you know it. You've felt it. You've watched your work move the needle, but only for someone else's metrics. You've watched your ideas scale, but only in someone else's portfolio. You've solved the problem, and someone else got the raise. That's not bad luck. That's a design. Look at history. Edison didn't outthink Tesla. He outpositioned him. He knew the stage. He owned the infrastructure. He played the game. And Tesla? He died with a full mind and an empty wallet. So ask yourself, are you still trying to do the right thing? Still hoping that work ethic alone will protect you? Still assuming that genius will eventually be seen? Because it won't. Not if you stay silent. Not if you stay in service of systems that never intended to reward you. The truth? You don't need more motivation. You don't need a new mindset. You need a boundary. A line that says, if I build it, I own it. If I solve it, I claim it. If I create value, I decide how it's used. Because if you don't, someone else will. And they'll thank you with just enough recognition to keep you loyal, but never enough ownership to make you free. So here's the turning point. You're not just a thinker. You're not just a worker. You're not just someone who sees too much. You're a man who must decide, will I keep being fuel? Or will I step out of the machine even if it costs me comfort, even if it costs me applause, even if it means walking away from the roles I was trained to play? Because if you don't own what you create, you're not a creator. You're a contractor, a tool, a line item, and you weren't born to be that. You weren't born to live brilliant and die broke, not because money is everything, but because value deserves sovereignty, because the man who sees must also choose. You can die rich in thought, but bankrupt in freedom. Or you can start reclaiming what's yours. The system will never stop using you, but you can stop letting it. That's not a revolution, that's a decision. And now, it's yours. You used to believe that talent was enough, that if you just stayed sharp, stayed honest, stayed good, everything would eventually align. You thought doing it right would protect you. You thought being brilliant would elevate you. You thought being ethical would shield you from betrayal. But you know better now. That wasn't truth, that was programming. A story designed to keep men like you obedient. Because talent on its own doesn't threaten the system, it feeds it. The world doesn't need you to shine, it needs you to produce, quietly, predictably, without making demands. It doesn't want your fire, it wants your output. It wants your mind without your voice, your effort without your ownership. That's why so many brilliant men die unknown, because the world doesn't see them until it's safe to celebrate them. When they're no longer a risk, when their ideas can be monetized without resistance, that's when they become visionary. That's when the statues go up. That's when the documentaries roll, but not before. Before that, they're dismissed, overlooked, too intense, too serious, too difficult to manage. And that's the choice you're standing in front of now. Do you want to die with quiet honor that no one remembers? Or live with your integrity intact, unbought, unowned? Because yes, they might love you, but only after you're gone. Only when your work is no longer a threat. Only when your silence is permanent. But you're still here, which means you still have a choice. You can keep hoping the world will reward you for being good, or you can protect what you've built before they sell it without your name. You can keep creating in the shadows, or you can draw the line, define your worth, and stop donating your genius to people who think in quarterly profits. No one's going to do it for you. No one's coming to say, you've done enough. Here's what you truly deserve. Because the truth is, they don't want to pay you what you're worth. They want to pay you just enough to keep you going. And that's not because you lack value. It's because you never demanded it. Because you never believed you were allowed to. But you are. You're not just smart, you're awake. And that's dangerous if you choose to stay that way. So no, this video isn't a call to arms. It's not a motivational speech, it's a mirror. Because the system isn't the only thing that's been lying to you. You've been lying to yourself. Telling yourself it's just a matter of time. Telling yourself good work speaks for itself. Telling yourself someone will notice, they won't. Unless you make them, unless you stop giving yourself away. So here's the question you have to live with now. Will your mind become a museum, celebrated after you're gone? Or will you claim your value while you're still alive? Don't let your intelligence become a product that someone else sells back to the world with your name removed. Not because you weren't good enough, but because you never said, "This is mine."